Hello, ski racing fans, and welcome to the American Downhillers Podcast, Season 3, Episode number 6. Today's podcast is a very special one as we are talking Cortina, the favorite speed venue for the women, and our guest is an up-and-coming star on the Stifel US Women's Speed Team. I'm two-time Olympian Doug Lewis, and I actually raced Cortina as a World Cup. It was our last race before heading to Sarajevo, Yugoslavia, for the 1984 Olympics. Joining us is Marco Sullivan, who I believe raced some FIS races in Cortina in the 90s. And unfortunately, both AJ Kit and Darren Rolfs aren't able to join us this week as they are out coaching our next generation of American downhillers. As our special guest, we have 21-year-old speed skier from Park City, Utah, who is on the C team, but probably close to being named to the A team after her first ever top 10 in a World Cup last week in Altenmarkt, Austria in the Super G. She only has 16 World Cup starts, all in speed. And in 2022, she won the bronze medal in the Junior Worlds in the downhill. Please welcome Lauren Macuga. Lauren, where are you right now? And did you get to ski today?
Hi, everybody. And I'm in Toblach, Italy, right outside of Cortina. We are actually taking the weekend off right now in preparation for the World Cup. We also just finished some FIS GS races out in Pozza, little off
Nice.
day.
Before we get into it, I want to help everybody with your name. Is it Macuga? But then your nickname is Cougs. So explain how badly people pronounce your name.
So looking at my name, it looks like Macuga, but pronounced Masuga by one of my coaches, Jay Hay, Park City. I've just kind of led into it. You see Masuga, Macuga, Cougs, and now on the hill, I'm just known as Cougs.
Nice. Let's go to your 10th in Super G. Describe that day because I watched it. It was a gnarly set, lots of DNFs. What do you remember about that day and that run?
That day, well, we were supposed to have a hired start. It was super windy out and they lowered the start. And we had already done a race from that start 2 days ago. And I had some really good splits and some good skiing. I just had one mistake in the middle, which really cost me. And that whole morning, like I woke up, I was feeling really good, which normally I'm just kind of like going about my day. But that morning I was feeling good, like inspecting. I was like, oh, this looks really fun. And I was like in hospitality, races started, I was watching and just picked up on a few key spots. So I was like, oh, that looks like it might get a little interesting for later. And those were the spots that were kind of taking out the other girls. And luckily, when I got in the start, I don't really know what happened. I just felt so good and kicked out and nailed those tough spots, but also like skied well in the other spots. And it all kind of just came together.
Were you surprised in the finish when you turned around and saw the number, or were you kind of like, yeah, that looks about right?
Oh, I was so surprised because it didn't feel that good. I think because I was like trying so hard, like it didn't feel good though. And I came across the line, all I could hear was the announcer go, "Oh my gosh!" I was like, where is the screen? Because I don't know. I want to know how I did.
So, how do you stay positive when you know it's challenging, you know it's dangerous out there, and it's taking a lot of women out? How do you stay positive and attack?
Well, I stay positive. I just I guess find what I'm good at, like to like seeing these other girls. I'm like, oh, I know like we've skied like comparing it to other courses. That's what I kind of like to do. If I see something challenging, I like to compare it like, oh, this turn is similar to this turn in Kvitville and I can ski that well. I could ski it well here and kind of trying to find a positive outlook and just keep the positive attitude going.
I feel like that's a lot of when you're new to the World Cup, like you are. I mean, you've got to make yourself believe that you're good enough to be there, right? So you're like comparing it to all these past experiences, and that's pretty cool that it's coming together for you. You guys just raced some FIS races to get ready for Cortina. How did that go? Was that a good prep?
Yeah, it was very good prep. I mean, Pozza is a super steep hill, so it's nice to work on some technical GS. I can't say like I was trying to do well, but definitely not my strongest suit. Like I didn't do anything phenomenal results wise, but using it as like a work on race day mentality and then also as a GS fundamentals for Cortina. Like it was super great, and like I'm feeling really good going into it. But sadly, the results weren't really there. But that's okay. We're not working on GS right now.
I fought tooth and nail to keep my GS going. I raced Adelboden. I raced Alta Badia, not well. But I thought that it was the fundamentals of GS that was going to help me and separate me. Do you agree on that? And how often are you able to ski GS?
Yeah, actually, I really agree after this year. So I'm actually on the GS Super G team for the like US ski team. So there's four of us. And the whole entire like summer, spring, fall prep period, we focused on a lot of GS and Super G. Occasionally like downhill, like maybe there's like 4 downhill days, but we were focusing on the fundamentals, and it's really actually shown. Like my skiing has made a huge jump this season, and I believe it's actually super important for speed. Like some people think like, oh, you got to just keep doing speed, like work on getting faster. Like, yeah, that's great and all, but the fundamentals are way easier to work on in GS and transfer super easily into speed.
That's really good to hear that you guys are working on those fundamentals. And I know when I was on the team, they tried to do that Super G GS team kind of throughout the years, depending on who was on the team. But what other women are? You said there's four of you on that team. Who who is that?
It's myself, Keely Cashman, Tricia Mangan, and Allison Mullen.
Okay, cool. That's awesome. I think it's
Yeah,
really interesting to me to hear how the team gets kind of broken up each year and what coaches are dedicated to what, and hopefully that GS Super G theme works well.
working for me, and I hope they keep it around.
Yeah, you're living proof right now that it's working. It's awesome.
Talk about your development as a speed skier. Was it always speed? And when did you change over and fall in love with going straighter and faster?
Well, I like through U14, U16, I always liked Super G. I mean, we couldn't do downhill till fifth year, so I never really knew until my first fifth year. And that year, like I was actually really good at slalom. I was like I was crushing in slalom. So like, oh yeah, I'll try to be a slalom skier. I was picking up good GS throughout the year, and then went to Schweitzer. I think you guys know Schweitzer. It's not really it's super hard downhill. It's pretty flat, but did well there. And Jay Hay, he decided he was like, oh, let's go to Sugarloaf. Like NORAM finals. It'll be your first NORAM too. I was like, oh, this is super cool. And we show up there. Oh, it was the hardest surface I've ever seen. And they were like, it was set so fast and so straight. I was like, I've never even like done downhill. I don't know what I'm doing. And they like the US team was threatening to pull because they wouldn't change the course set because it was so hard. And I was like, well, if they're threatening to pull, I don't know what I'm doing here. I ended up running the training run and pants and a jacket. Next run was just the pants. And then after like a few tears to Jay, I ended up racing and getting, I don't, maybe 10th? No, somewhere around there that did well enough. And that's how I made the team. And I was like, well, for how scared I was, it went really well. Maybe I could actually make this work. And that's when I kind of decided that's the way I want to go. And I'm really happy with it because I really love it.
That's awesome. You have a very competitive family, as I've found out when you were coaching the American Downhiller camp last year. You're telling us about your sisters and your little brother trying to make it on the ski racing world. Can you tell us a little bit about the competitive scene with your siblings?
Oh, yes. So I have three siblings. My older sister, Sam, is on the US team for ski jumping, and she's actually currently in Zhao, Japan. She had a World Cup today. I actually think it got canceled, but she qualified the other day, which was super exciting. Allie, she's my younger sister. She is competing in Val Malenko today, or no, Val St. Côme, and in moguls, she got I think fourth yesterday, seventh today at the World Cup. And Daniel, he's my youngest brother. He is in Breckenridge competing, I think, at the university races, or I think. And I think he has a race today, or it was yesterday. It's kind of a lot to watch, but we are extremely competitive and somehow happen to compete in all the different sports.
Hey, Marco, can you talk to the fact about her NORAM where, you know what, let's run in coats. Can you talk about how you teach a progression to get comfortable in speed? And is it okay to run in pants or coats sometimes?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's, it's kind of frowned upon as being, I don't know, you always want to be like the fastest person out there and show that you're so tough that you can run in your suit. But sometimes when you actually take a step back, maybe run a course in your clothes, or even run a section of a course if you're allowed to in training, you can really learn a ton and not have the stress of that. Just I feel like when you put on your full skin suit, it's like all of a sudden you're cold. There's only this little layer between you and the snow, and like it's like it gets a little stressful. So if you can like be warm, slow yourself down a little bit, and just think more about what the track looks like and what you can do, it can be really beneficial. I remember one year in Beaver Creek, we actually like got to section the course because there was something wrong with the upper part, and we just got to run like the lower section for a training run. I think we might have even had clothes on, like the whole World Cup. And all of a sudden, we saw these lines that we had never really skied before. When you had like full strength and you were not totally focused on just going the fastest ever, it just opens up kind of a different way to look at the course. So, yeah, I think in training for all levels, leave your clothes on for a run, and then maybe start stripping down and go faster and faster, and you actually dissect the course a little bit better instead of just going like 100% right out of the gate and being scared and maybe not seeing the optimal line all the time.
Hey, Lauren, I was lucky enough to be on your team at the American Downhillers coaching. What surprised you when you coached for the American Downhillers camp in May in Mammoth? Anything stand out as you being a coach, now coaching the younger generation?
The whole thing surprised me, I should say. I had never seen so many kids like so eager to do speed. I mean, girl, I didn't do much of it, just kind of occasionally raced it. And it was super cool to see all these kids so excited about it. And the format of it, I have to say, like still working your way into it, introducing it, and getting all these kids super comfortable with like going for it. These kids were doing things that I was like, oh, I'm a little like, I was like, I had to demonstrate this. I was like, oh, this is kind of looks a little like hard, and they were just out there like going through these wave tracks. I was like, right, like go for it. Like, it was super cool to see. They were really impressive for the whole thing. Yeah.
Marco, you've done it so many years, but what surprised you when you got these kids out running speed and practicing it in a safe way?
I think similar to what Lauren said, like I'm always surprised at the level when you get dozens of kids out there pushing each other. It just naturally kind of builds up to a point where you're like, wow, these kids are all of a sudden like going off this big jump without any hesitation and sending it into these certain features that we set for them, trying to be challenging, and it just looks pretty natural. And I think that's a testament to a lot of the coaches we have out there, like Lauren, who are keeping it fun, keeping it, showing that it doesn't have to be scary. We definitely build into all the features, and there's not a lot of pressure to do stuff if you don't feel like it. But most of the kids, I think, don't really feel that pressure after they do it one or two times. It's like it's all good, and it's just really fun to see kids going fast and having fun.
Hey, Doug Lewis here, and I want to talk about the American Downhiller Speed Camp. American Downhiller is the leader in teaching young ski racers how to go fast and have fun. 2023 will mark the 6th annual American Downhiller Speed Skills Camp in Mammoth Mountain. Our speed camp is coached exclusively by current and former World Cup racers and coaches who are passionate about helping the next generation of athletes achieve their dreams. We specifically focus on aerodynamics, jumping technique, speed tactics, and the mental training required to safely navigate Super G and downhill race courses. If you are a ski racer who wants to go fast, check out our website, AmericanDownhiller.com, for all specific camp dates. Lauren, you're still developing as a speed racer. What came easy technically for you in downhill? Like what clicked, and then what are you working on technically in downhill?
Right. Well, right now, in downhill, I'm working on like I have a tendency to go to the inside ski on these like bigger turns. That's what keeps causing me to lose time. And so I'm just working on basics, getting over the outside ski and having a strong inside hit. So it came easy, I guess. Tucking, going fast. I guess I've liked that. I guess it helps. I'm like, okay, I gotta go fast.
So let's move to Cortina. Amazing hill, has just spectacular, legendary sections. You've raced the Super G, I think. How are you going to go in to learn this new course? What tools are you going to use? What people are you going to use so you can really learn it?
So, I mean, this year and last year, I've spent a lot of time learning a bunch of courses, and I feel like I've really dialed down how to learn the course and then race the course. It's getting much easier to learn these new tracks. And last year, I did race it, but I was a little sick then, so it wasn't my greatest performance. But I'm glad that I've been there to say, like, I'm a little more confident going in this weekend than I was last year. I know what turns to look at, where I like have my video. I know where I need to improve in the Super G, but I'm excited for the downhill to really finally look at that and race it, because I know, like, I mean, all the girls, all my teammates are always like, oh, like Cortina's coming, like we're so excited for it, like Cortina. So I'm really excited to really learn the track, and I think I've gotten better at like working with my coaches to know, I kind of learned what they say and what I take well, like kind of taking the parts I like from what they say and using that better to like give me confidence when going into the first downhill training, and really dialing the line so that I can work on improving the speed. I mean, I guess I'm just excited. It's such a fun track.
You talked about your teammates, everyone being excited for Cortina. I agree. I think it looks like a really cool course. Guys never raced it when I was around, but um, speaking of the team, like seems like you guys are having some success. You know, Jacky's getting some points, and Bella's in there. Alice coming back from injuries, and how are you guys? How do you guys work together? You feel like the vibe is good, and just kind of the overall state of your crew right now.
I feel like everyone's doing great. It's been such a fun year. I mean, going from just four of us last year to occasionally we're starting, I think, nine girls when Michaela's around, which is crazy. Like, to have such a big American speed team back on the women's side. And it's been exciting. I mean, Jacky's return, that's super impressive. I mean, so is Alice. Both of their returns, like Jacky jumping right in the points and Alice being able to go into these like tracks after 3 years, like that's really impressive for both of them. So I think that's been bringing up a lot of the spirits. And I mean, Bella has been skiing so well, and I mean, we've seen like Trish had some super fast splits, and Keely's gotten to the points. I feel like it's been just a super exciting year. Like everyone occasionally like getting in there. Now we're just waiting for all of us to get in there. Kind of exciting. Like, we're hoping the Americans start to get back in there and have a super strong team. I know we have a strong team. Just we're gonna perform one of these days. It's gonna be good.
Yeah, waiting to pop that big one in there and get up. That'd be awesome to see all you guys like fighting for that top 10. It's going to be a good day.
Yep. So that's the plan.
Yeah.
Lauren, I coach a lot of young kids, and um, maybe their team atmosphere is not as tight. They get upset if their teammates have a good day and they don't. It seems like you guys are always smiling, always supporting each other. Where does that culture come from? And can you talk to the kids out there and say, it's actually good when your teammates do well because you can feed off it, right? Talk about that team spirit.
we all get along. Okay, I know it's an individual sport, but you are on a team. You do like when someone comes down and does well, you have to be excited for them. But you can also take it like if you didn't do so well that day, you're like, oh my God, like in training, I'm right there with them. Like, yeah, they just got 10th today, like, and I the 2 days ago was like maybe like two like 0.2 behind. Like that's like nothing. If I can like take this mentality that I can ski as good as them and they're doing this well, I can also get in there. Kind of take the positives out of it. Like if they can do it, I can do it kind of thing. And I know like it's hard to be excited for someone when you had like a tough day. I mean, ski racing when you have a tough day, it's kind of like, oh, great. Like what now? I gotta wait all day until tomorrow to even try again. But you have all this is actually just a bunch of time. It's get like you have time till tomorrow to figure out what you can do better. Like watch your friend's video. They were faster than you. Use that. You're gonna ski like if it's speed, you're gonna ski the same course tomorrow. Watch with them. Maybe ask them what they did well. Like use you need to help each other. And that's what we do. Like I'm always asking these girls, they've all skied it all these courses before. I'm like, how can I do this section better? Like the Super G day I got 10th, I asked me and I think Keely sat down with Jacky in hospitality and we're like, how were you so fast at the first split? She won the first split, the first Super G day. We're like, how did you do that? And she was like, well, this is like did this and this coming in, skating and like tucking. We're like, okay, like thank you. Like we all help each other and if we all help each other, we all do better. So
That's cool. Love to hear that you girls are working together.
yeah.
All right. So you might be still working out your start routine, but take us through the last 15 minutes of your start before a speed race. What's going on?
So I have found I don't like to watch many people. I'll watch the top 10 racers in hospitality and then I won't watch any others. Like I know they're good skiers, but if I watch the top 10 and I know they're like, I know everyone's good, but I know that they won't have as many mistakes because they've been here many times before. So I like to watch them and be like, oh, I can ski like that. And then I won't watch anyone else. Even if there's like a change in the course and people are like, oh, it's getting a little bumpy. I'm like, no, no, no. If they skied it, like if they like Fede skied it that way, I'm gonna ski it that way. Not watch anyone else. And I found I started listening to music as a little like kind of distraction, kind of switches up. Um and just kind of do a few I have a little like leg swings, lunges, like a little movement. And then I like to just dial in and focus. I don't really talk to anyone else, get a little course report, and just kind of focus in, and then I go.
Simple as that.
Marco, I felt like my start routine changed throughout my career. You know, it was a little happy go lucky first, and then I got a little serious, and then I combined it. Do you have stories of your start routine changing, or what was most important for your start routine?
I think I agree. Mine changed a bit throughout my career, but I always wanted to. Um, I I really like to ski a lot in the morning before the race, which I think was maybe a little unusual. Like I would after inspection, I'd go try and knock out a few free runs and just be warming up skiing rather than standing in the lodge doing the core routine or whatever. Like wanted to be out there, get some wind in my face, and then um, I probably watched too much. I always like to see um, a few racers on the TV, but then like Lauren said, you know, sometimes the course will change. We'll hear different things, and I'd be like, maybe watch a guy and see them make a mistake, and maybe that would get in your head a little bit. You know, I probably should, looking back on my races, I probably should have just stuck to like, you know, watching a couple good guys and then cementing that image in your head, or watching no guys. Remember we were talking to Didier Couch last week, and him and Darren were saying they didn't like to watch at all. Like they wanted to be in the driver's seat and do their own plan and not watch other guys. They didn't want that to dictate what they were doing. So, um, yeah, that shows like a lot of confidence. I think. I guess we're all different, and I definitely was different throughout my career. But I don't know if I ever had that rock solid routine. It's always changing.
Doug Lewis here. If you are a U12, U14, or U16, Elite Team fitness camps are for you. This is not your average fitness camp, as we teach the vital skills of sports psychology and sports nutrition, along with tough, challenging workouts. You will leave camp with more power, strength, and agility, with a deeper understanding about nutrition, and with the mental skills of confidence, focus, and pushing limits, which will take you to the next level. Over our 30 years, we have coached Olympic champions, World Cup stars, NCAA champions, including US ski teamers Michaela Schifrin, Lauren Macuga, Alice Merryweather, Jimmy Krupka, Grace Henderson, and Sammy Worthington. And finally, although we push our limits to the edge, we have a ton of fun. We are holding 2 week-long sessions this July at the Killington Mountain School. Find all the info at eliteteam.com. So Lauren, it's part of the sport, but you've had a couple injuries. What did you learn about yourself in your comebacks from those injuries?
Well, my biggest injury was I broke my fibula in my first international race at the Youth Olympics in Lausanne. So that was a tough start to my international competition. But I guess it was good for me. It really showed me that I wanted to come back. I wanted to do this. It was almost frustrating to not be able to compete, but seeing all your friends compete. But it showed me what work you have to put in to be one of the best. And injury is part of the sport. You can't hide from it. It happens to everyone. It's just part of the game. You can't be afraid of that. And I mean, every day I go out there, there is a chance of anything happening. And I mean, sometimes it can get in your head, and I know if anything does happen, I'll just work twice as hard and come back from it. But no, it definitely showed me that I want to be here and I want to come back, and it's hard. That is hard work. You might think working out and doing a super hard workout where you're running, I don't know, shuttle runs or something, even running the beep test, you're like, oh, that's hard right there. No. Working out, coming back from injury, that is always the most impressive moment for, I think, some people. It's crazy. You see them working so hard. It's always the most exciting thing when you see them get back in a gate and they're crushing it. So
very similar story. My first World Cup, I crashed into a chairlift tower and broke my back. So not a great start to my World Cup career.
Oh my God.
However, again, just like you, super motivating once I got through the sadness and I stopped crying. Super motivating. And I learned 2 things. Number one, I needed to be stronger, tougher, stronger, fitter, faster. And that never changed throughout my career. So I used that as a lesson. Secondly, I figured out when to push it. Well, I was pushing it skating to the start, right? It was a competition. So I learned about, hey, when do I up the ante and when do I don't? So taking those injuries and getting better and learning something is super important.
It's a real test of if you want to do the sport or not. Once you are laying in that hospital bed and you're like, do I really want to go back and do that again? You instantly know. I feel like most of us are like, yeah, get me back out there. And I don't know what that instinct is, but we all love ski racing and competing. But I wanted to ask Lauren, when I first met you, you were wearing a bucket hat, and you're wearing a bucket hat now. I'm wondering, do you travel with a whole bag of those, or is that your only one?
Oh, I have a few. I'm a big bucket hat girl. I do have, I think, 4 with me, 5 maybe.
Nice.
If you've ever dreamed of going to Wengen or Kitzbühel to watch the classic World Cup downhills, the ADL Ski Club is for you. Their small group trips are geared for passionate skiers and big race fans. They take you to the heart of ski racing's biggest races at the Laberhorn, Hahnenkamm, and Schladming Night Slalom. Our own AJ Kidd has been on both the Wengen and Kitzbühel trips. The ADL has a ton of special access passes to the races, parties, and athletes, which make the Ski World Cup unique among all professional sports. Now is the perfect time to get your name on the list for this year's Wengen Laberhorn trip or next year's Kids trip. Visit ADL Ski Club, that's adlskiclub.com, and reach out to them to secure your spot. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think you were super fast at the young age. How did you stay focused through maybe finishing 10th or 22nd and not being the superstar as a youngster? How did you keep the focus long term and keep working?
Well, I wasn't always winning. There were a few years where I was doing well, I think U14, but then like U16, I was nothing special. Like I made nationals, yeah, but I didn't. There was nothing. I was just kind of like, oh, just another girl out there. But I just kind of had fun, and it was just something I enjoyed doing. But then when I hit FIS, I was like, oh, like people started talking about college racing, and honestly, I didn't even know where there was a US team to make. I was just kind of there for fun. I'd never really watched a ski race. Like it just kind of was something I enjoyed doing. And I mean, wasn't I wanted to win, of course, but it was just kind of happening. And then this year, I did start winning and doing well. And then I was like, oh, like this is a real I already do enjoy this, but this is kind of like really fun when this is going well. And then my coach told me, he's like, oh, you could like make the US ski team. I was like, oh, well, I really want to do that now. And it kind of ignited my really competitive side, be like, oh, well, now I want to start doing really, really well. I was like, come on. And like my siblings also, I guess that also helped ignite it because I think like that year, the year before, Sam made the US team, and I think Allie and Dan were both doing well. And then I started being like, all right, no, I'm like kind of competing against them. I want to do well. Like, I want to take this somewhere. And then it kind of just built off of me having fun.
Critical is always have fun. That is for sure. And tough days can be fun as well because number one, you get to
Mm-hmm.
ski. Every day you ski
Yep.
is fun. You can learn something from every race. I talk to a lot of young athletes and they have distractions, whether it's their competitors, their parents, the weather. How do you deal with distractions? Do you have a plan for each one? How do you keep calm when something comes up that could distract you?
I like to almost divert myself. Like if someone's bothering me, if I'm at the start and I don't like what they're talking about, I'll walk away. Or like if anyone like starts saying things like I don't really like hearing too much about the course, or if there's like a hold, I don't want to know why. That just kind of can affect your confidence. So I'll just walk away and go in my own world. And if someone's being annoying, just walk away. And like weather, well, I guess you kind of have to just. I like to trick myself almost. I'm like, oh, it's dark. I can see really well. If it's snowy, oh, I'm good at skiing in the snow. I have no idea if I'm good at that. I just kind of have to convince myself of these things and be like, give yourself almost that false confidence to give. I mean, you're doing a speed, you're going super fast. You need all the confidence you can get, and if you can pull it off those little things that might be causing some other competitors doubt, it's kind of like a little advantage.
So we're watching video at night. Who are the Europeans that you watch and why?
Well, we were watching Laura Goot the other day, and the Super G. I mean, she has incredible like technical and approach. Actually, just everything. She's very good. I mean, obviously, she's very good, but you're also like looking at her tuck. She's able to get so low, and it's super impressive how much like how aerodynamic she is. So, like looking at that, trying to compare myself, like if we were in a wind tunnel, she'd be beating me. She was hands down better tuck. So like taking like those little things, being like, what can I do here? What can I do there? And I mean, occasionally, like we'll kind of switch it up. I really like watching Federica Brignone. I mean, some of the turns she could pull off are incredible. It's because she's so technically like sound. Like her technical skills, she can whip off like a downhill ski into like a super G or into a GS turn. You're like, that's insane. So I like to kind of go between those two. And I've actually recently started watching Ragmo. Um, I really like her skiing. It's and she's very put together, very sound athlete. And I think it's nice to watch because it's almost all like perfect, I guess. And I know like she has been working on getting the speed back. and it is coming back actually, which has been very exciting. Um, and yeah, I like watching her. It's very nice to watch and be like, oh, I can do that. Like she makes it look so easy.
Those are active heroes. Who did you grow up thinking I wanted to be like? Who did you watch growing up as the person that inspired you?
Well, it might be an obvious answer, but Lindsey Vonn. I have always been the biggest fan. I mean, it was always so cool. I mean, she's the best, like she was so cool, and then I actually got to meet her, like, and she was just even cooler in person. I was like, wow, this is like so cool, and it's actually been super nice. And I mean, she's been super friendly. She reached out to me after the 10th in Super G, which was so big, so exciting. I was like, oh, thank you. So no, I like watching her. I'll actually for some of the tracks, like the new tracks, I'll go look for her runs there.
So, last question, Lauren. What is your advice? What do you say to that U14 who has big goals, but maybe not has the speed right now? What's your advice to them?
To keep going. It took me up until my first year FIS. It can take a while, but if you like want it to happen and you're willing to put in the work, you will see the results. You just have to keep pushing on. Look for the positives in it and have fun, and like if you're putting in the work, it'll give back.
Lauren, talk about your sponsors. What do you ski on? What are your goggles? What are your glasses? Talk about your equipment.
Okay, I am a Rossignol athlete for skis. I got M boots. I've actually been with them, I think, forever. Never really tried anything else, and it's been working great. They've been great to me. I'm using Swix poles, shred protection, which has been great. Just started with Giro helmet halfway last year, which I really love, and Pit Viper goggles. You don't see those around. Actually, I don't actually. They're really new. They're kind of fun because it's a little like statement piece. You know, they're not just like black or white. Got some color. Currently, I'm wearing the lightning ones. I may or may not be showing up with some new ones to Cortina. So I got
Oh,
my first head sponsor. I got my first head sponsor.
who is it?
It's
What is it?
Pulsinelli. They're a law firm. They actually, Palmer, one of our athletes, was at the American Downhiller camp. My connection, his son, was there. So it was super exciting to get to see him again, and now they're also my head sponsor. So exciting.
Thanks, Cougs, which is Lauren Macuga. Ski fast at Cortina. Have the best time, and we can't wait to see what you can do on that incredibly legendary slope.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks for listening to our American Downhiller podcast. And special thanks to Lauren the Cougs Macuga, who just had her first top 10 on the World Cup, and she has her sights set high. Watch out in 2026 for her to be a medal threat at the Olympics in Cortina. Please spread the word about the podcast, share with your friends, coaches, teammates, and your club. You can find us on either Spotify, Apple, or on the YouTube channel. And thanks to our American Downhiller sponsors, ADL Ski Club, Wind Wax, Elite Team Fitness Programs, and American Downhiller Camps. Stay tuned for more American Downhiller podcasts to come. For AJ, Darren, and Marco, thanks for listening.